Watch says Boko Haram has killed thousands of people in the past 4 years. But it says strong answers to the attacks by security forces have killed hundreds more. Researcher Eric Mitchell says violence between members of different communities has also killed thousands of people in the past 4 years. He says the government's failure to imprison attackers is giving strength to the Boko Haram crisis.
One of the reasons that they have used to justify these attacks was that when Muslims were attacked in Plateau State, for example, those who carried out the attacks, nothing happened to them and the government turned a blind eye.
More violence between religious, political, and tribal groups is expected next year before Nigeria's 2015 presidential elections. The Nigerian military says it continues to fight Boko Haram and kill members of the group in gun battles and air raids. But in rural areas of northern Nigeria, people are still being killed, homes are still being burned, and people still live in fear. I'm Christopher Cruz. And that's our program for today. It was written by Christopher Cruz, from reports by Elizabeth Arrett in Cairo and Heather Murdoch in Maiduguri. You can tell us what you want to hear on a future show. Go to our website, learningenglish.voanews.com, and click on Contact Us. Thank you for spending some of your time with us today. The Health Report is next, followed by Exploration. You can read and listen to our programs and download MP3s at learningenglish.voanews.com. You can learn with us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at VOA Learning English. From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report. Mental health experts often use a treatment called prolonged exposure therapy to help soldiers returning from battle. It is considered the first step in treating soldiers who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Researchers have found the treatment can also help adolescent girls who were sexually abused as children. In prolonged exposure therapy, or PET, patients are asked to remember and then talk about the feelings and thoughts that cause them to suffer. They do this until these memories are no longer painful. The desensitizing method can provide help to soldiers who developed emotional problems because of wartime experiences. Post-traumatic stress disorder is not limited to military veterans. It is also seen in young women who were sexually abused or raped when they were children. Edna Foa is a clinical psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania. She helped to develop prolonged exposure therapy for PTSD. She says young women who were abused at an early age often get what she calls supportive counseling. But she says that kind of treatment usually helps them for only a short period of time.
It kind of reduces their pain on the short run, but in the long run it actually maintains the symptoms and actually generates chronic post-traumatic stress disorder.
Dr. Boa says teenagers who receive supportive counseling may avoid situations that bring back memories of their abuse. She believes PET can offer the abused girls a cure that lasts longer. She says it gives them the skills they need to face memories of their abuse. Dr. Foa and her team amended the PET program to meet the emotional maturity level of young people. Then, they compared it to supportive counseling in a group of 60 sexually abused girls. All the girls suffered from PTSD and were 13 to 18 years of age. Each girl got 14 sessions of either PET or supportive counseling. Each meeting lasted about 60 to 90 minutes. Dr. Foa says during treatment, those who received PET had a larger decrease in PTSD symptoms and depression compared to the other girls. They also had a greater improvement in the quality of life.
Most of the girls who received prolonged exposure actually lost the diagnosis of PTSD and really did very well, even a year after, because we followed them up to a year after the treatment.
Dr. Foa says social workers in community mental health centers can be trained in prolonged exposure therapy in just 4 days. And that's the VOA Learning English Health Report. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Exploration, a program in special English by the Voice of America. Today, Doug Johnson and Frank Oliver tell about the first airplane that flew out of the Earth's atmosphere. It was designed to test equipment and conditions for future space flights. The plane was called the X-15.
The pilot of the huge B-52 bomber plane pushes a button. From under the plane's right wing, the black, sharp-nosed X-15 drops free. It is 11½ kilometers above the Earth. Pilot Scott Crossfield is in the X-15's only seat. When he is clear of the B-52, he starts the X-15's rocket engine. And so begins the first powered flight of the experimental plane designed to take man to the edge of space. The X-15 flies high over the sandy wasteland of California's Mojave Desert. Up, up it flies. After 3 minutes, its fuel has burned up. It is flying about 2,000 kilometers an hour. Scott Crossfield's voice tightens. His breathing becomes harder as the plane pushes against the atmosphere. At that speed, the pressure is 3 times the force of gravity. Then, the X-15 pushes over the top of its flight path. It settles into a long, powerless slide toward the landing field at Edwards Air Force Base. Designers of the X-15 have warned Crossfield about the landing. They say it will be like driving a race car toward a brick wall at 160 kilometers an hour, hitting the brakes and stopping less than a meter from the wall. Crossfield lands the plane without any problem. His success shows, as one newspaper reports, that the United States has men to match its rockets. That first flight of the X-15 took place in September 1959. But the story began in the 1940s with the X series of experimental aircraft. The first plane ever to fly faster than the speed of sound was the X-1 in 1947. United States government agencies and America's airplane industry realized then that it was possible to build an even faster plane.